Thank you, Senator. Senator Portman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Dr. Chu, good to see you again, have you before the committee. I'm going to follow up on Senator Merkley's comments about a plan and also focus, I hope, on two issues. One is nuclear and natural gas. You just said we're living in a more competitive world, and you're right. Senator Sessions is also reminding us that we're living in a time period of not just more competition, but more budget constraints. And to me, this means that we need to determine ways to unleash the American potential to create sources of energy right here. And I would associate myself with some of the comments earlier, some of the members on both sides on clean coal and other technologies. But let me focus on nuclear if I could, because I think that may be one we haven't gotten into as deeply. As you know, I'm very concerned about the slow pace on the loan guarantees. I think it's fair to say that nuclear is the only baseload emissions-free option that we have. It's U.S.-based. It'll create a lot of jobs, and it's critical in terms of our dependency on foreign sources, but also in terms of having cleaner energy. And the infrastructure is aging, as you know. Plants are getting older. They're less efficient. We should certainly be encouraging upgrading our energy infrastructure generally. As you know, I've been specifically involved in the front end of that on the enrichment side. And when you look at the track record since the beginning of this administration, I think there's only been 2 loan guarantees on the nuclear side. The last one was about a year ago, one of which is conditional. And that, of course, goes to a French-owned company on the front end, which is nuclear, but it's really uranium enrichment. And so I guess my question to you would be, you said earlier your goal is to double renewable loan guarantees. What's your goal on nuclear? And what can we do here in the Congress to get these loan guarantees moving? And then I want to follow up with some specific questions about enrichment.
Sure. First, in the President's FY12 budget, we're asking for an additional $36 billion in loan guarantees. We've made one conditional commitment to the Vogtle plant for 2 new reactors. We have another 3 projects before us, and then after that, another 4. And so that we're actively working on the first 3. I think it requires, in addition to loan guarantees, it requires other things. A great stimulant to nuclear energy would be a clean energy standard, quite frankly, because that says if you build a nuclear power plant, you get credit for this. And in many regions of the United States, they say this is part of it. So it's a market draw. The loan guarantees will help industry get started, provide the assurance that you can build these reactors on budget, on time. And in addition to that, we are helping. We think there's a great opportunity in the United States for the development of small modular reactors. So instead of reactors that are 1,000, 1,500 megawatts of power, these would be more of the scale of 100 megawatts of power, maybe 200 megawatts, maybe 50 megawatts. The advantage of that is, well, first, the reason we built these very large reactors is you get an economy of scale. It was a very long licensing period, approval period, things like that. So you build one big one. The only trouble is when you build one humongous one that full cost could be $8+ billion, this is a huge asset, and so that, you know, this is a large fraction of the capex of a utility company. So if you build a small modular reactor that can be built in a single factory, the economy of numbers can then compensate for the economy of a single one. The electricity infrastructure in many parts of the United States could not even accommodate a 1.5 gigawatt reactor. And it's something where we think we can begin to retake back the lead in nuclear technology. I mean, we made the first nuclear reactor in the world, in the United States. But that lead has gone to France, it's gone to Japan, it's gone to Korea, and now China wants to take that lead. So we're no longer major players. The GE and Westinghouse are majority owned by Japanese companies. We think, but to be sure, these companies, GE and Westinghouse, many U.S. engineers are still part of this. We think, so we want to restart the nuclear industry. We also want to start.
Let's not forget Babcock and Wilcox.
Oh, Babcock and Wilcox.
Modular
yes.
Units like Empower.
Right.
Let me just back up for a second, if I could. I mean, it's fine that you're asking for more money for loan guarantees. The question is, you've got loan guarantee money in the pipeline. How do we get it out? I agree with you on modular. It seems to me you're the expert. Literally, there has to be a clear pathway through the regulatory process. So what can we do to get utilities to move forward and get you to get these loan guarantees out so we can actually begin this nuclear renaissance?
Well, I think if you look at the dynamic of what's happening, there's uncertainty. For example, there won't be a price on carbon in the next couple of years, right? The cap and trade is not going to be revived for the next couple of years, and so that's why the clean energy standard is a market draw that allows that to go. The low price of natural gas also has an influence on economic decisions of investment, and so. But when you build a nuclear reactor, this is a 70-year horizon. And we don't really know what's going to happen to the price of natural gas in 70 years. We know in the next 10 or 20 years, it's probably going to be a lot lower than it has been in the past, but it's still a very volatile commodity. And so that's why we need to diversify our energy supply. And that's why I think nuclear is very important to that. But there are all these other factors. And to the extent that the federal government can say, okay, there's a market for clean energy, and nuclear counts full, whereas natural gas might count half, that we think that would be a stimulant. But as these companies go through this, we still see a lot of interest in trying to get it going, and we're working with those companies.
I would love, if it's all right, to do some follow-up with you on this and maybe just look on paper what is exactly your goal on the nuclear side. You mentioned doubling on the renewable loan guarantees. How would you measure your success or failure to get there over the next couple of years? And what do we need to do specifically to get some of these loans going? On enrichment, just for a second, do you think we need a U.S. source of enriched uranium?
Yes.
Do you think we need a U.S. source of tritium, which is so critical to your nuclear arsenal?
Yes.
And any update on the loan guarantee for the Piketon plant? We are, as you know, very concerned about that, and particularly concerned that this may be a pivotal time over the next few months in order to keep the project going.
I think, we are, specific loan guarantees, as you know, I really can't talk to you about that, but I do believe that we do need a domestic enrichment technology that is important for our national security, let alone our energy security, which are now so intertwined, I don't really draw a distinction between our national security and energy security. And so I do believe it is important that we develop technology, a leading technology in the United States.
Thank you, Dr. Chu.